I'm excited to introduce the speaker to you. So it's today on the day to activate what restores. We begin with the voice that has lived the recovery, studied the nervous system, and risen from trauma with something real to offer. Hopes that's earned, not manufactured. It is one thing to teach about resilience, and it's another thing to embody it. And our day 4 keynote speaker, Dr. Brody Miller, does both. Dr. Miller's story doesn't begin in the lab or the lecture hall. It begins in the hardest place, with the traumatic brain injury, with epilepsy, with addiction, and with the kind of invisible chaos that lives inside a dysregulated system. But it doesn't end there. Through his long journey, messy and miraculous journey, Dr. Miller discovered what many systems forgot. That true healing isn't a quick fix. How many of you agree that true healing isn't a quick fix? It's a rhythm. And that's what he's here to talk about today. So I'm going to bring him up. Is Dr. Brody here? Awesome. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you as well.
Very good. So you're here to talk about brain rescue, rebuilding the nervous system through consistency, care, and courage. We're
excited to do so.
Thank you. Welcome. The stage is yours.
Beautiful. Hello, everyone. It's so honored to be here with you all. And very excited to present to you some of the things that I've been researching lately about brain health and how you can use these very effective and easy to use tools, not only for your child, but on yourself as well, most importantly. I'm so glad to be here. We got a lot to cover, so I'm going to get right into it. But before we even get into that, what I want to foster is a quick breathing exercise before. Not only will that boost blood flow into your brain, it's going to improve your memory and so many more things. So I want to just start. We're going to do inhale for 4 seconds and exhale for 4 seconds. So we'll breathe on my count. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Last time, inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got a lot to cover today. So today is about rebuilding the nervous system through consistency, care, and courage. So we already took a few breaths together, but today we're going to cover why I'm so passionate about brain health and why I do what I do, left and right brain dynamics and its importance for children's mental health, research and tips. We're going to have some fun doing some mind gym exercises and breathing exercises, as well as some emotional regulation for you and your kid. We're going to also cover about how malleable and plastic the child's brain is and how to use that. So who am I and why do I do what I do? I'm your average normal kid from a small town in the United States. I lived on a farm, was a happy-go-lucky kid. I had awesome parents, lived in a small country town. However, growing up, I always felt a little out of place. And I really think that was because I was one of the only Jewish kids in my small school. But I found a way to fit in. I found a way to fit in through sports. And sports really was my happy place. I played basketball, football, baseball, you name it. And that was really how I fostered my identity from a very early age. However, I stopped playing sports. And I shifted my identity and focus to be more of the class clown, the joker, always laughing. But really in high school, deep down, I was an insecure kid. I was lost and I couldn't even get a prom date. I was cut from the high school basketball team, and I was really trying to find my identity. Like I said, I was a class clown and the joker, but that stopped working, and I was separated from my friend group. So my identity really became to be Miller time. My last name is Miller. So I started to get into drinking beer, Miller time, alcohol, drugs. And that really was how I showed up at that time, to fit in, that deep desire to fit in. But really everything changed in 2013. When I was outside of a nightclub, I thought it was a great idea to get in a fight with a bouncer who is about 3 times my size. And he knocked me out. And boom, my head hit the pavement. I was knocked unconscious for about 5 to 7 minutes. And it was just chaos and turmoil. And really, to add insult to the injury, it was posted on a local news TV station, and everybody, over 100,000 people, saw me get knocked out. So I was humiliated. I was shamed alongside my family. I experienced memory loss, and I was really mentally ill. I had severe brain fog, severe depression, and there was damage done to my frontal lobe, which we're going to talk about later on. And you can tell my eyes are glazed over. I was severely depressed and lost. And in 2015, I started to get into some really high-risk behaviors. I was taking pills, I was drinking, I was doing anything that I could do to feel alive at that time. And then my life really changed because I was talking to an AA sponsor. I had about 6 months of sobriety, but then all of a sudden I feel this horrible negative energy come into my body when I was talking to him, and I blacked out. I felt like all my walls were caving in. I woke up in the hospital and they said, Mr. Miller, you've experienced 3 grand mal seizures. And they scanned my brain and they found a brain leak or a cavernous malformation in my left frontal lobe that was causing these seizures. So at that time, the only thing my family and I knew was to have neurosurgery, to cut that open and to remove that malformation in hope, as doctors told me, to help me heal those seizures. And so on top of that, they put me on all kinds of medications, SSRIs, seizure medications, and even a medicine called Keppra that I had a very horrible reaction to, where they even took me to a mental institution for a night. But at my lowest moment, there was light at the end of the tunnel. And ultimately, I was introduced to an idea, like a super powerful idea that I'm now so passionate to talk about. It's neuroplasticity. And that's quite simply the ability of your brain to rewire itself, to change, to heal, to adapt in response to all that we do. And so I learned ultimately that I was responsible for my brain health. And if I didn't take accountability, I would lose the rest of my life, and my life would lose its meaning. So I learned to take accountability, but even more important, that I had hope for the future, which I didn't know I had at that time. And so I really dove deep and started to get into neuroscience. And I went to a meditation retreat. Many of you all know Dr. Joe Dispenza, and his work really influenced me to be able to heal my brain, and that there was hope. And so I started to study that a lot. I completed an immense amount of certifications from the Neuro Leadership Institute, from Duke University. I studied neuroscience from there, the University of Chicago, and even the Heart Math Institute and the neuroplasticity of the heart. And so I went from somebody who had really bad difficulty completing even basic sentences to now being a public speaker. Like, who would have imagined? And that's how capable the brain is. And I ended up getting back into school in 2019 and ended up transferring my accreditations and completed my PhD research in only a matter of 4 years, when it takes most people 6 years, because I learned simply how the brain can rewire itself. And so my dissertation was on mindfulness meditation and its impact on TBI, traumatic brain injury. And so I was really the identity shift once again. I was a college dropout who had a criminal record, who couldn't concentrate, to becoming a doctor with his PhD in a very rapid amount of time. And in 2025, I'm so blessed to have connected with one of the mentors that taught me about brain health, John Assaraf, and he co-signed my book. And John is the CEO of NeuroGym, an amazing guy, just a very helpful and philanthropic guy. And he co-signed my book, and my book became an international best-selling book, Brain Rescue.
Everybody follow Dr.
So lots of wonderful things have happened. I spoke with Greg Reed at his world-famous Secret Knock event. And I even met the guy, Richard Cohn from The Secret. And Richard, we signed our books together. So really so much has changed for me in a small amount of time. But I don't want to get off on that, because this is about you and your child's brain and the incredible ability it has to heal itself at a young age. It's not to brag, it's to show you that you can do it and do even more. So real quickly, there's been a really high rise of ASD, autism spectrum disorder, that they found. The CDC has found that it used to be in year 2000, 1 in 150 children showed signs of ASD. And now here we are in 2020, where it's about 1 in 36 children are showing signs of this. And I equate it to two main things. Number one is we have more information than ever before, so we're more aware of this topic and this subject. But also on the other side, number two is we're more disconnected than ever before. And this is what this is all about. This summit is about how disconnected we have become. And the stats prove this. So really think about the brain in this way. We have our left brain and we have our right brain. And a lot of people will say that this is a myth, but it's actually true that your left brain is more logical, it's more analytical, linear, factual, and sequential. And the right brain is more creative. It's more intuitive, more artistic. It's nonverbal, it's emotional, and it's imaginative. And this is true from a structural and functional standpoint. So when we're talking about a child's brain, here's 7 quick signs of a right brain weakness is what the research shows is going on with a lot of ASD, autism spectrum disorder. And so number one is a sign is they may be struggling making friends or reading social cues. Another one is they may not be as interested in art or music. Number 3 is their body language and their tone of voice. They're missing out on that sarcasm. And number 4 is perhaps weakness and clumsiness on the left side of their body, because the right brain controls the left side of our body and vice versa. And number 5 is if they're easily overwhelmed by bright sounds and places. 6 is if they're having trouble and they get stuck in the details of trouble seeing the big picture. And number 7 is if they don't show much emotion. So I'm going to have to cover this stuff rather quickly due to a lack of time, but I want to tell you that the research shows that the right hemisphere of the brain is dominant in young children. The right brain turns online, and infants start out with right brain skills such as body awareness and when they're in touch with their emotions. But unfortunately with ASD, the left brain tends to come online a little bit too quickly. But luckily, once again, that one keyword, that tag word, neuroplasticity is possible. Here's a little more research by Shore in 2000 that talks about how trauma stressful or inconsistent caregiving can disrupt the right brain and causes symptoms of ASD. And even more studies, I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but this stuff is proven through neuroscience that the face processing regions, how the child processes faces is a right brain heavy dominant activity. And then with ASD, kids with ASD tend to process faces differently. So ultimately, I just talk about all this research, and the main point I want you to get is that the left brain tends to develop a little too quickly, but luckily we can rebalance things and help get it back on track. Speaking of ways that we can get it back on track, I want to be engaging with you all, and we'll do what I call some mind gym exercises. Just fun little exercises that you can do with your child, and it helps activate the brain and boost blood flow into the brain and improve memory and cognition. So let's do this together. We're going to start with our left hand clasped and our right hand making an okay signal. Okay. Now that everybody's there, we're going to switch. We're going to switch. All right. Great job, everyone. So back to the brain. I think trauma is really like a hurricane to the brain. So if you imagine that your child's brain is a house, but unfortunately with trauma, the T word, it's like a hurricane or a tornado hits the house. And that doesn't mean that we can't rebuild the house. So if we rebuild the house, it's of course going to take time. It's going to take energy. It's going to take dedication and focus. But if you have the right nutrition, you have which are the building blocks of rebuilding the brain, the right supplies, you have the workers, which I feel are like these targeted brain health exercises. And if you add time, energy, and you have the tools to complete the project, you can rebuild the brain, no matter how bad things are. So you give it the time, energy, and dedication, so many things are possible. I think one of the key missing pieces of brain health nutrition lies within detox. So if you think, once again, with the house analogy, if you think of the plumbing system as the detoxification system of the brain, we want to foster healing through the glymphatic system, which is, think of it as the plumbing system of the brain with sulfur-rich foods. So I'm talking about mushrooms, garlics, onions, leeks, broccoli. Some of these are going to help the brain detoxify itself during sleep, which is so important. Back to some more tools that the brain. I love this video with his father and his daughter. He's teaching the importance of emotional regulation at a very young age. As you can see here, he's teaching her how to breathe. And I've worked with children in the past, and they love these exercises as long as they're fun. Teaching our children at a very young age how to emotionally regulate. And as you can see, I like to practice what I preach. Here I am with my wife's cousin's kids, and we're doing these fun little mind gym exercises. And they love these because they're so engaging and they boost neuroplasticity in the brain, and they're fun, most importantly. So I created a mind gym course. Here's other kids that have used it. Kids love these exercises because they're engaging, but they also help. They're really great for cognition. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. It can be as easy as the kids socializing. It can be in the music they listen to, and it doesn't or drawing. All these activate and engage the right brain, the right hemisphere of the brain. But we're so disconnected in 2025. So one of the most important things is we can do is reconnect with nature, connection, reconnecting. And I think really the biggest issue is that we become disconnected with our bodies. Our right brain is really how we get in touch with our bodies and the insular cortex. And so what are some of the issues? We have processed food. We have processed connection. I think of excess social media and excess video games and screen time. We've become so disconnected, and we all can feel that. So some of the easy solutions are reconnecting with ourselves first and foremost. reconnecting with family and friends because it releases the love hormone oxytocin into our bodies, reconnecting with nature, making learning more fun and interactive, and using all of our five senses, eating delicious and nutritious foods. You can have both, believe it or not. So back to the geeky neuroscience stuff. So if you look at a non-autistic brain and neurons of the brain, which are the building blocks of the brain, you can see that with autistic kids with ASD, they tend to have more robust neurons. They have more going on in their brain, and that leads to overstimulation quite easily. So one of the best things that we can do is to give them more time to process, because it's very busy and active in there. So if we look at what's called synaptic pruning in neuroscience, which basically means that neurons, it's a use it or lose it machine. So the brain during birth, it's not as busy, but as we get older, these neurons get more robust and bigger. The thing that we have to understand is, just like a garden, our brain needs to prune away information. And then sometimes with kids with ASD, their brain is not pruning as much as it needs to. It's not fading away, so they feel overstimulated. So here's one of the solutions that I learned from an amazing neurologist called Dr. Bing. Check him out on Instagram. But this is what he had to say about how we're living in this day and age.
Know that being bored can actually benefit you and your brain. When you're bored, your brain isn't just shutting down. It actually shifts into something called the default mode network, a circuit that activates when you're not focused on the outside world. And that's when deeper processing happens in your brain. It helps you connect ideas, reflect, consolidate memories, the kind of mental work that you can't do when you're constantly distracted. Interestingly, a lot of creative breakthroughs in history have come out of these quiet, unfocused moments. For example, Einstein was daydreaming about riding a beam of light when he began imagining what would become the theory of relativity. J.K. Rowling said the idea for Harry Potter just came to her while staring out the window on a delayed train. But the problem with today's world is that we rarely give our brains that mental space anymore. The second there's a pause, we fill it with something like texts or videos or podcasts. And over time, constantly avoiding boredom and the mental space that it provides can chip away at your attention span, your creativity, and even your ability to tolerate stillness. So boredom shouldn't be something that we try to get rid of. It's something that we need to understand and embrace.
He says it so well, that we need time to process. We're in this age of overstimulation. And if we don't give our brain the boredom that it needs, we're always going to be triggered and always going to be overstimulated.
No.
So I love what he said there. And really my interpretation of this is, in school, unfortunately, they teach us that daydreaming is a waste of time, that using our imagination is a waste of time. And I believe it's still being discouraged in 2025, because they want you to sit straight. They want you to pay attention. They don't want your mind to wander, but your mind wanders no matter what. And that causes a lot of issues. So we should encourage our children to imagine, encourage them to daydream, because once again, that default mode network of the brain has a purpose. It's very important. So never discourage your kid to dream and imagine. And I believe truly that we have an inner world and we have an outer world. And so think of the inner world as all of the 37 trillion cells in our body, our brain, our thoughts, our emotions, body sensations. And all we have to do is, we're very visual creatures. So all we have to teach ourselves to do and our children is to cut off the visual information coming into our brain. And just by doing something as simple as that and pausing, if you look at a brain scan, things change immensely just by cutting out visual information. If you want to go a little bit more deep, you can cut out sound information and auditory information by plugging your ears. Something as simple as that can make huge impacts on the brain. And so we have this inner world and this outer world, but we have to learn to reconnect with ourselves and tune back into our inner world. I like to practice what I preach. So here's me getting out in nature just recently, feeling that wonderful waterfall in my body in the cold. And here's just a quick checklist, a do and a don't. So some of the things I encourage you do is do get out more in nature. Do connect with family and friends more. Do foster healthy habits. Do celebrate the small wins that add up. Do eat delicious and nutritious foods. Yes, we can have both. Do protect your child's head and your head. Do exercise and move more with your child. Do use lots of positive reinforcement. Do pay attention to their interests and help them foster that with imagination. Do understand how miraculous the healing power of your brain and nervous system is. Do give lots of love and enjoy every moment. And do teach your children the power of empathy. Now, on the other side, let's just cover the don'ts. Do your best not to pressure them or give them too high of expectations. Don't allow excessive video game use or screen time. Don't let your child eat excessive sugar or processed foods. Don't stay indoors all day. We're made to be outside. Don't overuse negative reinforcement because that can be very harmful at a young age. Don't be an extremist either, though. Don't be an all or nothing and try to be way too extreme about limiting. A little bit of sugar here and there is not going to kill anybody. Do let them play contacts. Don't let them play contact sports too early. Last topic I want to cover, if I have time, are the power of the first 7 to 9 months of your child's life. So real quickly, we have this conscious mind and we have this subconscious mind. Conscious mind is our logic, our reasoning, our creativity, our ability to see past and future. And then we have this unconscious mind that's composed of our skills, our habits, our emotional reactions, our attitudes, our beliefs, and our perceptions. So why this matters is your child is born in the early time with a primitive survival mind that we all have. So if you hear a loud noise, you turn. Because it is the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. It's our survival brain stem. They call it the lizard brain. And if we hear a loud noise, it's here to protect us and keep us alive. So this is how our child's brain develops as they grow. But then we have these positive and negative experiences. So a positive is your child cries out for nurturing and help. Mom, they cry it out. And then their mom comes and helps nurture them. That's an example of a positive experience, a positive reinforcement. And then we also have negative experiences. So you put your hand on the hot stove, a child puts its hand there. Ow, it recoils. So these positive and negative experiences really mold who we are in this important first years of life. And as we grow older, we have more positive and negative reinforcing experiences. Somewhere around ages 7 to 9, the child starts to develop a critical filter. So if you tell them Santa Claus is real, they're going to say, I don't know if I believe that. So they start to develop their own thinking and reasoning at ages 7 to 9. And of course, as we get older, we develop this conscious mind of decision-making, of reasoning, willpower, analytical thinking, logic. So these formidable years are very important that you continue to use positive reinforcement because that's where some of their core beliefs come from. That mommy, I can or can't do this. I am this kind of person. So these core beliefs, and it's like when you think about the roots of who we are and where we come from, a lot of it happens in the first 7 to 9 years. And that's not to say that we can't change things immensely after that. I know I did, but just make sure that their brain is very plastic, it's very malleable, and it's very adaptive at that young age. So we want to get to the root cause, change those core beliefs to one that's empowering. And then we also have what's called mirror neurons. And you think about this in the way that if you look at somebody, we always mirror what they do, these mirror neurons. And another way of thinking about it is we imitate, just like a bird. So if Polly had a cracker, it will imitate you. It will imitate your voice. Your child will do the same thing. So I think one of the number one takeaway from today is I encourage you to be the change that you want to see in the world, just like Gandhi said, because your child is watching every single thing that you do. Now, if any of you all are interested, I give you a QR code for my Mind Gym course that I created, like I was doing there. You can go to dr-bro.com/Mind Gym program, or you can scan the QR code. And we have over 129 exercises. We have explanations and over 45 printables that you can use to help engage your child's brain. And this is very neuroplasticity heavy based exercises and helps the brain rewire itself. And a lot of them are focused on the right hemisphere of the brain, which a lot of children and adults could use more of in 2025. You're also more than welcome to go follow me on Instagram at Dr. Brody Miller. I'm heavy on Instagram, a little bit of Facebook and TikTok, but mostly Instagram. So you can also scan that QR code there. But nonetheless, that's my talk, and it was a real honor to be here. I know I covered a lot. Give some time to process this or rewatch it if need be. But all I wish is just take what works and resonates with you. You can throw the rest of it away. And I just hoping that as we move forward as a society, we get back to reconnecting with ourselves in that inner world.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. So thank you for sharing your story. It helps others connect so deeply. Thank you for that. The gym part that you shared, we have a journal that we're giving out. So I have included your links to connect with you. So if you want to give us that particular link, I don't have it, then I can put it in the chat as well. The course that you talked about, I don't have the link.
Absolutely. I can put that in the chat.
Perfect. I'll then pass it to our team. But do you guys have any questions in the chat? People who are watching, do you have any questions for Dr. Miller? So are you saying that there's a lot of cases, 1 in 36?
Yes, the prevalence has gone up quite high.
Yes. So do you think it's just because we are more aware of it, or is it because of some of the things we're doing? For example, in the early stages, you said 7 to 9, that critical stage. Kids are on the screen, they're not socially interacting. That is a lot of it, like you shared, is also a sign of socially not interacting, like not knowing personal space or not knowing what is sarcasm, because we learned that so much by interaction. So
Exactly. And COVID, unfortunately, disrupted that for a lot of people because we didn't have that in-person social engagement.
So is it then autism, or is it socially we're now different people growing up?
I think there's a mix there. They're more aware than they've ever been. So that definitely contributes to higher numbers. But I also think that we all can sense, even intuitively, that we're more disconnected than ever before, because this is just not the same thing as connecting with somebody eye to eye. It works different circuits of our brain. And I think this is like its own world unto itself in some ways.
Yeah. We're disconnecting ourselves. We're not in that resonance. We're not sharing the energy field. And that's so important to grow as you're a young person. Yeah, I find that fascinating, that part. I think is it really autism, or is it because we're socially so different now?
Yeah, it's on the spectrum, but a spectrum is not a black and white thing. Like I have spectrums of all kinds of things within me, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a black and white thing. Like I'm a brain injured individual, but I think that's become my superpower ultimately, or that OCD tendencies that I have. I think of that as like my unique superpower in some ways.
Of course, all of our breakthroughs, it becomes a breakthrough. Whatever you go through, it's a breakthrough. For me, the same thing. Like I used to daydream all the time. When you said daydreaming is good, that's all I did in class. And that's how I was able to crack the math codes, because I was fascinated with math in my own way. But I wasn't doing well in class, but I was really doing research on my own. But it's not celebrated. Like, pay attention. What are you doing? Pay attention. When we could enhance it for people. So we have some questions here. That's good. Is it normal to repair your brain so quickly as you did?
I'll go science from a neuroscience lens, because that's my passion. Is they say it takes 60 to 254 days on average to create a new neurological network in the brain. And what I mean by that is a series of brain cells that reconnected. So a neurological habit takes around 60 to 254 days, with 90 days is often the sweet spot for most of us. And that's where the big changes are, through our little tiny habits that we do throughout the day that like add up. And so is it normal to repair your brain so quickly? When you think about it, it was 5 to 6 years of like really hard work. And I work on the brain continuously every single day. So I think the brain is always repairing. It's always changing. And maybe I'm a little abnormal in some senses, that I got complete cognition back. But I truly, honestly believe that we all can regain our cognition and get it better than ever before, no matter what your background is and situation.
And the other question is the impact of early trauma or neglect. How do you address this?
Yeah, I would say it's impossible to protect them, like to shield your child from everything. It's just impossible. We all have quote unquote trauma, but the main thing is just to do your best. We all do our best, and try not to expose them to things that are unnecessary, if that makes sense. Don't put them into contact sports too early, or try not to do your best and try to get them away from negative influences and things of that nature. Just do your best is all I can say, and you'll know what that looks like for you.
Awesome. How do you get teens to incorporate the brain gym?
That's a tough one. I suppose with exaggeration and impact, and just really to implant like how that influences them in their life. So if the kid isn't focusing, try to tie it into something they're already interested in. So if their interest is in, let's just say sports, or it's whatever, writing, just say, you're not going to get better. You're going to miss out on that, and tell them the negative impacts that it could have if they don't start to pay attention on whatever it is that they desire.
I'm just listening to you and very excited about the alignment we have here, because we are a collective movement that we have all these coaches. That's what we serve at the neurological level. So I was out looking for a program like the gym, where these drawings, I was mesmerized by some of your videos. That's how I got to know you. So we could collaborate to bring that, and we know how to get the teens to do it because we work with them so closely. It's about relationship. Sometimes not parents can't do it. So I get my son 18 to ask, and he's no thanks. But if another coach has a relationship and they bring it in a way and explain, you don't go to the gym and just lift one day weight and then get the muscle, right? It's got to be consistently done, and then they need to know why you're doing it too. If you tell them the why associated with it. So I love to bring your program into our family of coaches who can share it with the people that you designed it for.
Totally. I would love that. And you're exactly right. I didn't listen as a teen, as you can tell. If you can tie it into something that they're passionate about, then perhaps, or somebody, an outside force like me, that maybe can influence them, because a lot of times we just tune out our parents.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like my son who's into weightlifting, if I could bring, like you said, the interest, right? Like you don't just go to weightlifting and do one weight one day and then you're like fit guy. This is how you train your brain. So we have to explain to them in a way that they could understand. I think teens will definitely buy into it. Who doesn't want their brain super powered and fit?
Everybody.
Yeah. Any other questions? Molly has one here. Would the brain gym exercise be good to warm up in a classroom? Of course.
Absolutely.
I was
Yeah.
having trouble. Everybody said they were having trouble. I had to think. I guess you have to think to
It
do this.
does. It's like a light switch, but I would say like you got to activate things, and the breathing exercises, I call it a breathing sandwich as well. So a lot of times with the people I work with, I'll do a breathing exercise in the begin and end, and then these little exercises to activate things and get it going, get the wheels turning. It's a great warm-up exercise.
Yeah. Sometimes you know how you had to do the same, like both at the same time. I have a hard time with it. I need to practice on that because the left brain and right brain, it's not working yet together. Yeah. Is that a question, Maria? Or maybe challenge them. I think it's a comment for the teens. Yeah, they love challenges. Yes.
That's a good one right there.
Yes. Anything else for Dr. Miller?
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, one more. I said, do you do presentation for classroom students like teens?
Not yet, Maria or Mary. I think I'm
Very
pronouncing. Yes, not yet, but it is something I'm aspiring to do more and more of in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anything else you want to leave our audience with today?
Just mainly the reconnect with yourself. Because once again, like Gandhi said, we literally have to be the change in 2025, but we don't have much of a choice but to tune in and reconnect with our heart and our brain and our nervous system and just cut out the crap, excuse my language, but there's a lot of crap out there. So don't tune into that negativity, tune into yourself. Absolutely.
And I love Gandhi is one of my counsel that I speak to daily. So you're so in alignment. I can't tell you. We haven't met. It's the first time we're meeting today online other than typing, but it's so in alignment. We're excited to use your program because I was looking for one of the exercises because it'll really help with what our coaches do with our students and how they coach. Awesome. Thank you so much.
It was super coming on. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. And we will have all of his links and information under this video, as well as on our magazine. He wrote an article, so all his information there as well. We launched our magazine today, by the way, so I'll send you a link. And please share everything with your audience too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.